So, what if I told you that the now you're feeling, this exact second, isn't really real? Not in the way you think it is, anyway. What if our most basic experience of reality is actually a kind of beautiful, elaborate illusion? All right, let's get into it. So you've got two completely different ways of looking at time. On one side, there's our gut feeling, right? This idea called presentism. It's simple. Only now is real. The past is over. The future hasn't happened yet. Makes sense. But then you have physics. And Einstein's theory of relativity points to something totally different called eternalism. This view says the past, present, and future are all equally real, all existing at the same time in what they call a block universe. It's like your entire life is a movie that's already been filmed, and we're just experiencing it frame by frame. And that, creates this massive puzzle. If physics is telling us that time is just this static thing, like a landscape, why do we have this powerful, undeniable feeling that it's constantly flowing, that moments are arriving and then disappearing forever? Well, it turns out the answer isn't out there in space, it's right here, inside our heads. The present moment isn't a feature of the universe, it's a feature of our biology. Your brain is basically like a master film editor. It's grabbing all these little still frames of what's happening, and it's splicing them together so perfectly that you see a smooth, continuous movie. And that movie, that's what we call now. And this is where all that big, cosmic stuff suddenly gets really personal. This quote just nails it. It shows us that a lot of our suffering comes from mentally living in places we aren't physically in. We're either stuck ruminating on the past, which we can't change, or getting stressed about a future that doesn't even exist yet. That neurological illusion of now might just be the only place we can ever find some actual peace. So, okay, if the present moment is where all the good stuff is, why is it so hard for us to just stay there? Well, the data on this is pretty mind-blowing. Get ready for this number, 47%. That's how often a Harvard study found our minds are wandering, thinking about something other than what we're actually doing. That's nearly half of our waking life spent not really being where we are. Just think about that. And here's the real kicker. The same research found that it's the mind wandering that causes the unhappiness. It's not the other way around. It's not that we're unhappy so our mind wanders. It's that our mind wanders, and that's what makes us unhappy. But listen, you can't be too hard on yourself for this. This isn't some personal flaw. It's actually our brain's design. We evolved to be little time-traveling survival machines, right? We're wired to scan for danger, learn from past mistakes, and plan for the future. Being lost in thought? That's our brain's default mode. It's the factory setting. So you've got this ancient brain built for wandering, and we've dropped it into a modern world that is actively fighting against our ability to be present. The conflict is intense. I mean, we're basically fighting a war for our own attention on two fronts. Internally, you've got anxiety, regret, and just endless overthinking. And then externally, you've got a constant barrage of notifications, this myth that we should all be multitasking, and this cultural pressure to always be thinking about what's next. And let's just be super clear about something. Multitasking is a lie. It's not a real thing. Our brains can't actually do two complex things at once. We just switch our focus back and forth really, really fast. And every single time we switch, we pay a price. It shatters our attention, it drains our energy, and it actually jacks up our stress levels. Okay, so our brains are wired to wander, and the world is trying to distract us. It sounds kind of hopeless, but it's really not. The secret isn't to try and force your mind to stop wandering, because it won't. The secret is to just get better at noticing when it's happened, and then gently bringing it back. For that, you need an anchor. And that anchor is mindfulness. And let's demystify this word right now. Mindfulness isn't some weird mystical thing you have to go to a mountaintop to find. It's just a basic human ability. The ability to be present, to know where you are and what you're doing without getting totally swept away by it all. It's a skill, and just like any other skill, you can practice and get better at it. Here is an incredibly simple tool you can use anytime, anywhere, when your mind is just spinning out of control. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. You just pause and you name 5 things you can see around you. Then 4 things you can physically feel, like the chair you're sitting on or your feet on the floor. Then 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. It's like a circuit breaker for anxiety because it yanks your attention out of your racing thoughts and into your immediate senses. And this stuff doesn't have to be formal or complicated. You don't need a special pillow or anything. Think of these as street smart anchors. Like, just try single tasking for a change. Close all the extra tabs, put your phone away. When you walk, just feel your feet hitting the ground. When you're listening to something, really try to hear all the sounds. These are tiny little moves that can make a huge difference. I love this quote from someone on Reddit because it's so real and down to earth. This person isn't trying to achieve some grand spiritual state. They're just using sound as an anchor. They're not judging it, not labeling it, just noticing. That right there is the whole practice in a nutshell. So, we have to talk about the number one reason people try this stuff and then just quit. It's not because it's hard, it's because our expectations are completely out of whack with how this actually works. We have this expectation that our mind will suddenly go silent. But the reality is, your mind is a thought machine. That's what it does. We expect to feel instantly calm, but honestly, a lot of the time when you first get quiet, you just notice how antsy you are. And we think we have to be good at this. But there is no good. The entire point, the whole practice, is just the act of noticing your mind has wandered and gently bringing it back. Again and again and again. And this quote from Eckhart Tolle just reframes the whole thing perfectly. So forget about trying to maintain this state of perfect presence for hours on end. That's not the goal. The goal is so much simpler. It's just about having more moments of presence throughout your day. A few seconds here, a minute there, it all starts to add up. Which brings us right back to where we started. We began with this wild idea from physics and neuroscience that the present moment is a kind of illusion, a trick of the brain. So if it's not fundamentally real, why on earth does it matter so much? Because, illusion or not, it's the only place life actually happens. You can't live in a memory. You can't live in a future plan. You can only ever live right here, in this moment, and this one. It's the only stage where your entire life plays out, and that makes it the only place that really truly matters.